What's going on, guys? I'm Fuller from Custom Offsets, Custom Offsets TV, and today we're taking a look at the Fuel tire lineup. So I know a lot of you might even be confused that you didn't know that Fuel even made tires. So there's that. Yes, they do make tires. We got 3 examples here. Now they've kind of, I guess, done a little bit of weird stuff with the naming recently, but if you go off of what the actual tire says and what the stickers on the tire say, we're going to be looking at the Fuel Gripper AT, okay, on the least aggressive side. Then kind of moving up to this middle ground, it's the Fuel Gripper MT, which also is sometimes just called the Fuel Gripper. And then you have on the end here, on the most aggressive side of it, this is the Fuel Gripper XT. So we'll start at the lower end and work our way up. Interesting thing about all of these tires is that they're all roughly the same size, okay? 325/60 R20, 3512.5 20, and 3512.5 20. They're all almost exactly the same price. They're all right around $1,300, whether you go with the least aggressive or the most aggressive. And I just found that really interesting when I started looking up some of the facts on these tires. So, like I said, starting on the least aggressive side, you're going to notice that on all these tires too, they all have the Fuel F as part of the tread pattern. That's kind of Fuel's unique signature on their tires. This is going to be called an AT tire, but I think it's a bit more aggressive than your standard all-terrain. This is definitely more aggressive than an Open Country AT3 or a Terra Grappler. This is leaning almost towards a hybrid looking tire where you have these large outer shoulder blocks and then a tighter inner section. So this tighter section kind of reduces road noise while the outer section gives you more grip in off-road situations. This particular one, like I said, 325/60. So what that equates out to is 34.8 tall by 13 wide. And if you go to actually measure the tire, it comes out almost a little bit over 13. So these tires, this particular one runs a little bit wider than what it actually is spec'd out to be. As far as height goes, you're gonna see just about 34.5 there, which is, you know, pretty typical of your about 35-inch tire. And it kind of equates roughly to the same as the ones we have next to it, so this was a good comparison. Like I said, about $1,300 for this. It's a Load Range E, 126 load index. It doesn't have a road warranty, but it does have a full manufacturer warranty. And they make this thing all the way up to 37 inches, even for 28-inch wheels. So there's definitely a lot of options here for you. They do have smaller sizes too as well, down towards like the 33s, but good middle ground, the 325/60 R20. Jumping then to the Fuel Gripper MT. Now this is going to be kind of like your standard mud tire that you usually would see from Nitto or Toyo or somebody like that. The tread pattern, although still unique with the Fuel F, looks a little bit more familiar to some other things that you've seen on the market. What I really like what they did with this particular tire is going to be the sidewall on here. So there's a lot going on as far as how rugged it looks and how far it sticks out. There's also some unique designs going on the sidewall that don't necessarily play into the factor of giving you actual traction, but they do definitely look cool. So as far as the center section goes here, everything is pretty evenly spaced. So when it comes to off-road traction, you probably have plenty of that. It's very deep grooves in here as well. And like I said, equal in both the center and all the way out to the shoulder lugs. And these shoulder lugs are at a very aggressive angle. So I would think that in an off-road situation, you'd probably be just fine. But as you get more towards on-road driving, these are going to be a little bit louder, but that's typical of a mud tire. I don't think they'll be any worse than anything else out there. They do have stone ejectors in the outside tread blocks as well that actually dive all the way in almost to the center of the tire. So plenty of rubber going on here and definitely a very meaty looking tire. 33 is going to be the smallest you can get these in this particular size, the 35/12.5 20. This is going to be an E-load, 121 load index, 10 ply, and again, no road warranty, but they do have a full manufacturer's warranty, and you can get them all the way up to 40/16.5 for your 28. So if you got some big show wheels that are 16 wide, you can get a set of these and not have to do any stretching, which is nice. So then let's get a measurement on here. So 35/12.5 is what they state. And if you look at the measurement, it's probably 12.25, which is pretty good actually, considering a lot of these run a little bit narrow. So Fuel's giving you all the rubber you pay for. As far as height-wise, just a bit short. Again, at about 34.5. Like I mentioned, that's kind of typical for a 35-inch tire. So then we go to the Fuel Gripper XT. Now, in just about every other tire manufacturer, an XT or an RT is gonna, symbolize a hybrid tire or a crossover tire. That's why it's an XT. But with Fuel, it's actually the most aggressive tire in their lineup, more aggressive than your standard mud tire. So as you can see, this is a very blocky mud tire. That is what it is. So again, same kind of thing, stone ejectors. They go all the way to the center this time and actually cross over the center. Huge blocks, tons of spacing, very aggressive angles on the side. And then you look at the sidewall of this tire and you've got just these big meaty blocks. It's kind of like a Baja style tire, but tons of spacing here. So if you wanted to actually do some sort of rock crawling or something like that, low traction environment, air these things down, I'm pretty confident that they would do extremely well. On road though, definitely gonna be a little bit noisier tire for you. And the sizes are kind of limited on this one. So you have the 35, 12.5, 20 that we have here. Then there's also other 35s, for like your 17s, 20, 22, so on. But then the only other option, if you don't want 35s, is to get a 44 by 16.5 R28. So again, if you've got some big show wheels and you don't want to stretch tires, it's a good option for you. And they're only $1,300, right around $1,300, which is pretty insane when it comes to having this aggressive of a tire in a 35, 12.5. So that's your Fuel tire lineup. If you're trying to decide between which ones you want, I know there's not a ton of videos on the internet that compare all of them side by side, so that's why we did that for you. If you guys have any questions on these tires or any other ones, you can ask them down in the comments below. Otherwise, check out our website at customoffsets.com.